Welcome back to our World Autism Awareness Week video series on autism and lots of different topics. So we've spoken about autism and family, autism and school, what is autism, and today we're going to talk about autism and sensory processing disorder. Now, a lot of you know that we have 5 main senses, the ones that we're taught when we go to school, that we have, which is vision, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. So those ones I'm just going to skip through because we kind of know them. But there are some senses that are not really spoken about and which come automatically to non-autistic people, but for autistic people it doesn't come automatically for them. Therefore the process can be a little more difficult. I have written them down just because the names are a little difficult and so that I don't forget any. So I'm going to go through them and then going to talk about how we can help and support a person who might have sensory overload through these senses. So the first one is proprioception, which is motor skills, okay, our muscle strength. So for me, for example, if I were to hold a pencil, I kind of automatically know the weight of the pencil, I know how to grip a pencil, but for an autistic child, for example, that doesn't come automatically to them. And instead of thinking like, why doesn't the child want to hold a pencil? Maybe it's something to do with the sense, and maybe they don't know the weight of that pencil or how their fine or gross motor skills, how they have to hold on to that pencil. So that can be more difficult for them. The next one is vestibular, which is our balance. Okay, now a lot of autistic children that I know, they have like crazy good balance, and this is why it's a spectrum. Some autistic people might find these senses really strong and might feel like it's a sensory overload, where others you might look and you might think, do they even sense that? Do they even know? So and it's not the same for everybody, it is different. So some might be hypersensitive towards some things and hyposensitive towards others, and vice versa. Okay, the next one would be interoception, which is our internal senses. So when we feel hungry, tired, thirsty. For non-autistic people, that can be automatic. It's quite easy to know if you're hungry or if you're thirsty, and you go and get a drink. Where for some autistic people, that sense might not be there, or might be underdeveloped. So they don't really know, or they can't process that feeling that actually what I'm feeling is hunger, or what I'm feeling is tiredness. And then another one is the general somatic senses, which is pain. You might know that a lot of autistic people might not feel pain, or they might be very sensitive to pain. So even a touch or their clothing could be very painful for them. So as I said, again, talking about the spectrum, it is different for everybody. You can't just presume that all autistic people feel pain when you touch their arm, for example. Some might not. It all depends on their sensory processing. Temperature. So in my experience, for example, a lot of children, either when it's freezing cold outside, they don't put a jacket on, and you go and feel them, and they're actually not, they're not freezing cold like I would be. And then other, like on the contrary, when it's summer and it's really, really hot, you might see that child that's got this really thick jacket on, and they don't seem to feel the heat. So that's all to do with our senses as well. Now, as I said, some people have hypersensitivity, some have hypo, which means none, or very little. And all of these can cause or can trigger certain meltdowns or shutdowns. So things, there are a lot of different strategies and coping mechanisms, and as I've mentioned in previous videos, everybody has different coping mechanisms. But for a school, for example, or for a workplace, how can you support a person? First, ask what their needs are. They might not have any issues with any sensory conditions, but they might. So ask, listen, and then try and adapt and make the environment more comfortable. So, for example, sensory rooms or quiet rooms are places where an autistic person can go to regulate themselves. Sometimes they need just a dark, quiet place, kind of to shut out the noise, and maybe the lights have been a trigger for them, so having that dark place, it just helps them to regulate. Where, on the other hand, other autistic people might need that stimulation to maybe calm themselves down or to refocus. So they might need flashing lights, they might need something to touch, something where they can, like stress balls to help them regulate. So each person's different, has different strategies, but that's what sensory rooms are for, to help regulate an autistic person's sensory processing. And other things also mentioned during this week that might help, like I've just mentioned, the stress ball. You have like fidget toys. So sometimes in a school, a child might need to be fidgeting with a fidget toy in order to be able to listen to what the teacher is saying. So it's not that they're playing with that, it's just that their body needs that, their body or their hands need to fidget, not necessarily fidget is the word, but they need to have that tactile sensory input in order to be able to have the hearing input as well. So as I said, it all depends on each person, and ask them how you can help. So talking about churches, for example, which will be in one of the next videos, we're going to talk about how you can adapt your environment with small little things like that. You might not have space for a sensory room, but you might be able to have a bag of sensory toys or items, not necessarily toys. So this was a quick video. I hope it helped in some way or form. And please do watch our other videos from this week. Share them, because the aim of this is to raise awareness, to share information, and hopefully we can do that through these videos, because we can't do it in person because of the pandemic, but this is just a small way of raising awareness that we can help our community, the places that you go to, okay, your workplace, maybe you go to church, maybe you work in a school. Think about the ways in your environment, in your community, of how you can support autistic people, not just this week, but forever, all the time. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, send us an email, which I'll put just at the end of this video.